Pontiac has a long list of legendary V8 engines, from the 389 that birthed the GTO to the 421 Super Duty and the iconic 455 HO. But in the shadows of these famous names lies an engine nearly erased from history. It existed for only 2 years, not because it was weak, but because it was too revolutionary. This is the Pontiac 375-8, introduced in 1958, a critical turning point in the brand's performance legacy. At a time when Pontiac was known as the old man's car, the 370 V8 was a loud, defiant slap that said, "Pontiac is ready to race," with power, speed, and attitude. With bold engineering, impressive output, and acceleration that surprised rivals, the 370 deserves to be remembered as a trailblazing hero, not a forgotten technical footnote. But why was it forgotten? And who decided this powerful V8 deserved to be silenced so soon? By the late 1950s, Pontiac was in the middle of an identity crisis. To the average American, it was the brand for conservative middle-aged drivers. Quiet, plain, and uninspiring. Youthful, high performance, emotional. Pontiac had none of that. But everything changed when Seaman Bunky Knudsen, the son of a legendary GM executive, took over Pontiac in 1956. Bunky wasn't here to maintain the status quo, he came to rejuvenate the brand. To do that, Pontiac needed a new heart, a more powerful engine that would grab the attention of America's younger drivers. The aging 347 V8 had done its job, but it wasn't enough for what Bunky had in mind. That's when the concept of the Pontiac 370 V8 was born. It wasn't just a displacement bump, it was a technical leap to put Pontiac on the same playing field as the Oldsmobile Rocket, Buick Nailhead, and even Chevrolet's Turbofire 283. Launched in 1958, the 370 engine arrived alongside the wide-track Pontiac Revolution, a bold design shift that made Pontiacs wider, lower, more aggressive, and most importantly, more powerful. The Pontiac 370 V8 wasn't just a bored-out version of the old 347, it was a clear step forward in engineering, designed to optimize torque, improve fuel delivery, and lay the groundwork for even more powerful V8s to come. Displacement increased from 347 to 370 cubic inches, or 6.1 liters, thanks to a longer piston stroke. This not only boosted capacity, but dramatically improved low-end torque, critical for heavy cars and explosive off-the-line acceleration. The engine retained its classic OHV overhead valve design, with a pushrod camshaft and wedge-style combustion chambers. But the real highlight was the fuel delivery system. Higher-end versions came with dual 4-barrel carburetors, and some offered the legendary tri-power setup, 3 separate carburetors delivering massive fuel flow and responsiveness. The block was cast iron, with thick cylinder heads, built tough for reliability and durability. This same structural foundation would later power Pontiac's famous V8 family, including the 389, 400, and 455. The 370 wasn't revolutionary, but it was a perfect bridge between performance, durability, and tunability. A smart, versatile design made to run hard and live long, and from the moment it debuted, it proved that, both on the street and on the track. And just as expected, when it hit Pontiac's flagship models in 1958, the 370 V8 turned every doubtful glance into a standing ovation. The engine was fitted into top-tier cars, like the Bonneville, Chieftain, and Star Chief. Big, luxurious machines weighing over 4,000 pounds. But once the 370 roared to life, these giants became true speed beasts, especially in the tri-power 370 configuration. Featuring 3 separate carburetors, the engine produced over 300 horsepower, an impressive number for the late 1950s. Tests showed a tri-power Bonneville could accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 8.1 seconds, matching some high-end European sports cars of the time. Pontiac went all in on marketing. Full-size cars burning rubber at launch, the raw image of American muscle completely redefined the brand's stodgy reputation. Beyond the boulevard, the 370 V8 made appearances in NHRA drag racing and even NASCAR. Though it didn't rack up many wins, its presence sent a clear message. Pontiac had officially entered the performance arena. At a time when Chevrolet owned the youth market, the 370 was Pontiac's first punchback, and it wasn't pulling any punches. With all its promise, the Pontiac 370 should have had a glorious future. But by 1960, the name had vanished from Pontiac's lineup. Just 2 short years of production, and that leaves many wondering, why was such a powerful, capable engine killed off so quickly? The answer lies in both General Motors' internal strategy and the quiet war between its divisions. First, by the late 1950s, GM had begun a major initiative to standardize engine platforms. With each division building its own engines, components, and production systems, corporate costs were spiraling out of control. To streamline, GM issued directives. Brands like Pontiac, Oldsmobile, and Chevrolet had to shift toward more unified designs, easier to manufacture, service, and inventory. Pontiac recognized that to stay competitive in the rising performance race, it needed a new engine, bigger in displacement, more scalable, and more aligned with the emerging muscle car movement. The result was the 389 V8, introduced in 1959, and within a year, it completely replaced the 370. Second, GM's internal ecosystem was anything but peaceful. Chevrolet had its Turbo Fire 283, Oldsmobile had the Rocket V8, Buick had the Nailhead, and each division wanted the spotlight. In that corporate turf war, Pontiac's 370 didn't get enough time to shine and was forced off stage. Ironically, it was the 370's very success that sealed its fate. It opened the door too well and was quickly overtaken by the next generation it helped inspire, in an industry where survival meant constant reinvention. There was no press release, no farewell ceremony for the Pontiac 370. It quietly exited the stage, as if it had never been there. And that's precisely what made the name fade even faster into obscurity. By 1960, Pontiac had fully replaced the 370 with the 389 V8, a larger displacement evolution built on the same architecture, but with far more development potential. The 389 quickly took over the entire lineup, from the Bonneville and Catalina to the high-performance cars of the early 1960s. Technically, the 370 wasn't outdated, but in an industry obsessed with every last horsepower, anything that couldn't scale up was left behind. The Pontiac 370 never got to enter the muscle car mainstream era after 1964. It was born too early, just in time to open the door, but not to stay for the party. Worse yet, very few cars still retain their original 370 engines today. Most have been swapped out for 389s or 400s during restorations, performance builds, or engine upgrades. A once proud engine gradually vanished from the streets, the records, and collective memory. No scandal, no technical failure, just overtaken by time. Though short-lived, the Pontiac 370 V8 left a lasting legacy, not through fame, but through its foundational role in Pontiac's legendary V8 lineage. The 370's design became the first building block for Pontiac's iconic Big Journal 5.8 family: 389, 400, 421, 428, and 455. Its thick cast-iron block, cam-in-block OHV setup, and wedge-style combustion chambers all were directly carried forward. Later Pontiac engineers often referred to the 370 as the pre-muscle blueprint, the technical sketch that shaped the brand's entire performance era. Without the 370, there would be no 389 GTO, no 421 Super Duty, no 455 HO. Even beyond Pontiac, the 370's design philosophy, strong low-end torque, easy upgradability, and bulletproof durability, influenced GM's broader V8 strategy throughout the 60s and 70s. In a world where engines are often replaced and forgotten, the 370 is a rare case. It was phased out early, yet laid the concrete foundation for the legends that followed. Not every pioneer gets to take the spotlight, but if you dig into the DNA of Pontiac's greatest V8s, you'll find the 370 still spins on in every revolution. The Pontiac 370 V8 isn't a household name among classic car collectors. It doesn't have the legendary aura of the 389 GTO or the magazine fame of the 455 HO. But that very obscurity makes it a rare, uncut gem in the world of restoration and preservation. Today, very few Pontiacs still retain their original 370 engines. Many have been swapped for larger motors like the 389 or 400 during upgrades or rebuilds. Finding a 1958 to 1959 Bonneville with a correct matching 370 block and VIN is incredibly rare, and the collector value of such cars is rising steadily. Within the Pontiac community, small circles of enthusiasts still focus on restoring 58 to 59 models, viewing them as the pre-Holy era, the turning point when the brand began its shift from bland to bold. To them, the 370 isn't forgotten. It's the origin story. Groups like the Pontiac Oakland Club International and classic Pontiac forums still archive technical documents, factory blueprints, and replacement parts for the 370. Preserving this engine is seen as preserving history, not just because of performance, but because it marked Pontiac's rebirth. For true car lovers, value isn't just in horsepower, it's in the story an engine tells. And the Pontiac 370 tells a story worth remembering. The Pontiac 370 V8 was a prologue, a critical foundation overshadowed by the glory of those that followed. It didn't get the time to shine, but it had the strength to pave the road for a new era. Not every engine meant for greatness gets remembered. But if you've ever loved Pontiac, ever thrilled at the sound of an honest V8, or simply wondered how a boring brand became a performance powerhouse, then the story of the 370 is one you shouldn't ignore. We hope this gave the 370 the justice it truly deserves. And if you found this story worth sharing, please spread the word so more people know that before the GTO, there was a 370 quietly carving Pontiac's performance path. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Have you ever heard of the 370? Maybe even owned or driven one? We'd love to hear your story.